I guess I'm just offering a very short couple of minutes in response to this text as well, and this is kind of what I've been reflecting on as I've been sitting in it this week. And primarily it's just around 3 words, and it'll be there on the piece of paper in front of you at the end of verse 10, and the words are, "Who is this?" And I know that there's an answer like almost immediately following on from that in verse 11, but in a sense, I guess as I was thinking about it this week, it's this question which frames this whole week for us. It's the question which is hotly debated and whispered about behind closed doors. It's the question which frames the decision in just a few nights' time for Jesus to be arrested. It's the question which sits in the midnight mockery of the trial in the halls of the powerful. It's the question in the room with Pilate as he holds Jesus' life in the balance. It's the question which literally hangs over Jesus on the cross. Who is this? Take it wider still, and in a sense it's kind of the question of the Gospels that have kind of been leading up to this point as well. It sits over all of the stories that we find of Jesus in the Bible. Where did this man get these things? What is this wisdom that has been given to him? What are these remarkable miracles he is performing? Who is this who even forgives sin? Who is this fellow who speaks blasphemy? Who is this who told you to pick it up and walk? Who is this? Even the wind and the waves obey him. This is the question. It's the divisive question. It fans the flames of worship and adoration, and also bitterness and resentment across the life of Jesus. Liar, lunatic, Lord, every option in between. All of which are present here with us this morning on this Palm Sunday in the room as well. Because in a sense, this question, who is this? This is our question as well as we come together today. And I guess, full disclosure, we are in a church here this morning. And we are here because of the answer that we think we find to this in just a few days' time. If we fast forward to Matthew 27, today's palm branches are withered and browned in the gutters. The sky turns black, the earth shakes, and we hear the words of the army officer who watches Jesus die, and he says, as if in final answer to the question of this morning, surely he was the Son of God. Or perhaps skip ahead 3 days later to Matthew 28, where we will be next Sunday when we all gather in here and see Mary and Mary overcome at the feet of the risen Jesus. That's what this whole church thing is about. This is a claim to know definitively the answer to the question, and for that answer to be utterly transformative to everything that we are. And I guess I appreciate this morning that certainty is really important for some of us to be holding on to. It's a rock that we want to hold on to, and we want to leave that unquestioned and unexamined. And so I don't want to undermine any of that today, but for those of us, I guess, who may have some capacity to do that, who have a little bit of emotional and physical reserve here to enter into the rhythms of this holiest of weeks on the church calendar, perhaps this could be the question which helps to frame our response to this time as well. Who is this? As we walk with Jesus into the darkest part of this journey, as we walk into the place of betrayal, as we walk into the place of pain and humiliation, as we walk into the place of suffering, as Jesus enters into the fullest experience of what it means to be human, our answer to that question, who is this, will determine to some extent whether we too can trust him and entrust ourselves to him in the very real and present ups and downs which we experience in life as well. Because if Jesus is just a man with some good ideas, or if Jesus is just a gifted and yet clearly deluded figure, or if Jesus is just a mythological storybook character, or if Jesus perhaps is just a good time God, he's a pourer out of sunshine and blessings, or If Jesus is a triumphant culture wars revolutionary come to take power back and make everything great for those who are like us, then what we will encounter in this week with Jesus will, at the very least, leave us bitterly disappointed with him as he leads us into paths that we would try our best on our own to avoid, or more likely it'll necessitate that we turn our backs on him altogether. Because it's just unnecessary noise. We don't need a Jesus like this who is complicated, who makes life difficult for us. But on the other hand, if Jesus is more than this, if Jesus is somehow against all likelihood and probability, the very word which speaks the entirety of creation and every ounce of wonder and beauty and joy in our world into existence, if Jesus is that made flesh and blood to walk among us, if Jesus is the promise of Christmas, Emmanuel, God with us, if Jesus is the Lord who is the shepherd who guides us through the darkest paths, even in the valley of the shadow of death, if Jesus is the King on the throne of heaven and earth made new, if this is who Jesus is as he rides ahead of us into this holiest of weeks, then even as the sun sets on today and the darkness creeps in, then still we can entrust ourselves and our world to him with all of it. And so the question this morning, if we have the capacity for it, who is this Jesus to you? Who is this Jesus to you? Because surely this is the invitation of this week, more than any week on the church calendar. It's the invitation of Palm Sunday, of this special day that we share together today, to lean in as we head off into whatever this week will hold, whether that's E-Camp or Easter Camp, whether we're heading off for a well-deserved rest on holiday, or maybe we're going to walk through the rhythms of this week here together as part of the church. Can I encourage you, no matter where you find yourself this week, as we walk into Palm Sunday, just to try your best to consciously lean in, to understand that this is where it gets real, and to feel in the ways that you perhaps may need to, the very real weight of this week. Especially for us, we who are so privileged and who are so sanitized in our separation from the violence and the horror of our world, and who can, without even meaning to, play so lightly with some of the themes that we encounter, because we have no real experience of what Jesus is about to endure. But here is God's answer to the hardest stuff. Here is God's grace and God's love written large in self-diminishing sacrifice. Here is God made flesh and blood and moved into our neighborhood. Here is God leading us together this morning, this Palm Sunday, on a path of his own choosing. And here is God asking us perhaps to put aside our own expectations and to renew our trust in him once again, no matter where the path ahead may lead. And so I ask again the question, who is this Jesus to you today? Let's pray.